A wildfire burning in one of the most popular national parks in the United States has doubled in size over the weekend, threatening Yosemite's famed giant sequoias and forcing the evacuation of a nearby community and campground. The Washburn fire has burned more than 1,500 acres as of Sunday afternoon. And as Meredith Wood reports, Mother Nature could make things harder for crews this week.
There's airplanes flying, there's helicopters flying by.
Attacking a growing fire from the air and from the ground as the Washburn fire burning in Yosemite National Park doubles in size, growing more than 400 acres overnight, triggering evacuations and threatening the famed grove of giant sequoia trees.
It's terrible. I mean, every fire is scary, and our hearts go out to all the folks that have had been evacuated.
Hundreds of firefighters are battling dangerous terrain as they work to save the ancient trees and keep the flames away from homes. Crews resorting to a sprinkler system to protect Mariposa Grove, which is home to more than 500 giant sequoia trees, with some more than 2,000 years old.
I'm standing right in front of the grizzly giant, which is arguably one of the most famous trees on Earth. We really don't want to leave this one to chance because this really is such an iconic tree.
The flames growing dangerously close to the Wawana campground and community nearby, forcing officials to issue evacuation orders.
Heartbreaking. You feel afraid for the people in the town of Wawana. It's a really cute town.
And there's growing concern that weather could hamper the firefighting efforts, with temperatures expected to get hotter through the week. But crews are hopeful nearby fire scars from previous fires could help slow down active flames.
It looks pretty scary, and we're going full force on our suppression tactics.
I'm Meredith Wood.